Hello neighbors, it's Brad here at eTrailer, and today we're taking a look and installing the SumoSprings Front helper springs for coil suspension on the front axle of a 2019 Winnebago Travato. Now the ProMaster 3500s you see a lot of times as work vans or delivery vans, but you can see here we have it in the van life configuration. And so either way, you're going to have weight associated with it, and that really means that this already fairly tall vehicle just feels a little bit more top heavy. And as far as steering, it's kind of numb from the factory, and adding weight's just going to make it that much worse. So adding these is not only going to just fill the void in the spring and really help supplement it, it's going to just give you that better overall handling and just better steering feel throughout, not only just parking lots, but out on the highway. And that's kind of a great thing to have, and especially in something like this. It's kind of a big sail out on the highway, so if you can kind of reduce some of that sway side to side, it's going to be a great addition, and you're really going to notice it every time you drive. And the great part about these is there's no maintenance required. They're very durable. They hold up to any road grime or temperatures that they may see while on your vehicle, and once you pop them in, you'll never really have to mess with them again. And that's another great feature. Installation is super easy to do. Now, adding front suspension enhancement on a lot of vehicles, you'll see it when they have weight up front, if they're putting a bike rack or maybe a plow up front, but a lot of times people don't think to upgrade the front. Well, the ProMaster is a front wheel drive vehicle, and this being outfitted with the Winnebago package, it is pretty heavy. You can definitely tell. And so getting a little bit more of handling and just feedback from the steering wheel is going to make for a better experience overall. Especially when you're in something big like this and you pass a semi, you're gonna get that wind sway, and this is gonna help because it's gonna cut down, really, I mean, as that spring compresses, if you have something there, it's just going to fight back instantly and give it a fighting chance rather than that suspension sagging. Not only are you gonna get just a smoother ride, it's gonna be able to handle that weight and really take a lot of the wear and tear off the suspension. So as I'm kind of slaloming side to side, this is obviously a pretty top heavy vehicle, and you can kind of just feel it lean, and that's where I've done these before on other vehicles, and it really just, you bring that steering feedback really quick, and it just, instead of having to kind of get that sway to come back around for the turn, it's just a little bit more planted. It's a little flatter handling, which overall, I'm not going to say gives it a sporty feeling, but you definitely have a little bit more precision, a little bit more comfort, and overall just a better driving experience, not only in parking lots, but definitely on the highway, as this is going to reduce a little bit of side-to-side sway, and again, just make for a better experience overall during the entire drive. Now that we have them installed, we're going to go out back on our test course and see the difference. And immediately over the bumps, it's doing it's a little bit firmer in a good way. It's not rough. It just kind of seems like it's maybe a heavier duty spring that can kind of just absorb it a little bit better. And it is quite a bit of difference here. That first turn, the vehicle stays a little bit more flat, and that means it's not leaning, so it cuts down on the sway a little bit, and just side to side movement, it is I don't want to say sporty, that's not necessarily the adjective, but you definitely have better handling that just feels way more confidence inspiring. And that's going to translate again, not only to just parking lot driving like this, where I can really cut this back and forth. It doesn't feel as top heavy. It just makes the vehicle just seem a little bit just more sure-footed on every turn, but this is also going to translate into the highway as well. When you get those wind gusts, it's going to cut down on the white knuckling that's required for driving one of these, especially with heavy gusts or passing large semis along the highway. And making this sharp corner here, that's a big difference. The top heaviness has really subsided quite a bit. And every turn, when I want it to cut, it's doing exactly what I want, and there's feedback every step of the way. So this really is a quick, easy way to just have a better overall driving experience with the ProMaster. Now, as far as installation goes, the great part about these are it's really easy. There's really no tools required. I do recommend having some soapy water and rags, as that'll help kind of get those in place. And you are going to need a floor jack to raise up your vehicle to get that suspension to unspring. So make sure you have your e-brake set in the rear, because we're going to be lifting up the front. And there is an easy jacking point to be able to get your jack to raise this up. And we're just going to raise it up enough to where we see a gap between the ground and the tires. Now, with just a little bit of dish soap and water solution, we're going to go ahead and clean off our coils here, and that way it allows it to slide on a little bit easier, and we will be kind of popping them in and rotating them. So this will allow it to kind of just move easily over that spring. So go ahead and wipe the coils down. It's going to be a little bit tricky to get to the back ones, but the main thing is we'll be popping it in this portion. So as long as it's nice and clean there, that's going to allow us to get it in place. Now go ahead and grab your slide-in helper spring here, and you'll see that there is a deeper groove on one side than the other. The deeper groove is going to go towards the bottom, so make sure you have it in that orientation. And if you need to, you can spray a little soapy water on this as well, but it's pretty easy here. I'm just going to kind of spread this out and get this wrapped around the coil. And then we'll try to get this bottom portion popped in, which this one, it seems like there's a decent amount of space to be able to do that. So sometimes it can get a little bit tricky. You can wedge it with a screwdriver, but main thing is if you can get one corner started, you can kind of work your way back. So let's try to do that. And once you have that one corner started, once you rotate it, a lot of times it'll kind of fall into place. There we go. Now, they popped in pretty easy here, so these are definitely one of the easier ones that I've done. And you're going to notice there is a gap, obviously, because our suspension's still open, but as we lower the vehicle, it's going to compress, and that's going to keep it in place. And they want you to have it between the second and third spring perch, or the opening. I figure kind of this is the best. It's pretty tight on this back wall, so to have that rounded portion there, I think would be the best. And so we have our splits kind of right here, but again, it's going to give it that protection no matter what. You're still going to get the benefits kind of wherever you put it, but right about here I think is ideal. So at this point, we'll just go ahead and lower down our suspension. So now with our vehicle lowered down, all that's left to do is repeat the same exact process on the other side, and then you're ready to start enjoying your new SumoSprings and the new handling that comes with it. And that was a look and installation of the SumoSprings front helper springs for your coiled front axle on a 2019 Winnebago Travato.